Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Blazer Metrics Podcast. Once again, joined by my friend Larry, aka TB Pup. How's it going, Larry?
Good. Although I'm being held up by a wrap back brace. So
Oh, yeah. Back problems, man. I've been there. Trust me.
flat on my back for the last pretty much 3 days. Just some old injuries pop up every couple of years, and I've been going really hard the last few weeks, and it caught
Yeah.
up with me.
Was it from hooping or was it just kind of like cumulative?
Just all the softball tournaments and then the prep for those, all the weightlifting and running, and then I was uh getting a place ready for sale, a house ready for sale, moving furniture, all the shampooing carpets, hauling bark mulch bags, and it just finally and then of course when I did it, it was doing nothing.
Mm,
It was getting up off a couch.
yep.
Literally. It was just the most ridiculous old man injury.
Yep.
All the other stuff, nothing.
Yep.
100 miles an hour World Series, nothing. Get up off a couch and twist the wrong way. None.
Yep. Yeah, worst I ever hurt my back was bending over to pet my dog, and then I could not walk. Like it was so
You
painful.
twist it.
Yeah,
Just
just
twist wrong and
oh man, yeah. Back is like the most. You can't do anything when your back's hurt. You're just out of commission. So yeah, I hope you feel better, man. That's crappy. But on the bright side, you now have a shiny gold microphone and a new camera. So it looks very nice. Looks very professional. Coming up in the world.
hey, all credit to you. You pointed me in the direction. So I was just lucky to hook it up without going down to Wazoo Vancouver campus to get an IT intern to come plug things in. Not my forte.
We'll see. It might still be up to me to figure out why you come in so quiet in a lot of ways. So we're still kind of working out the kinks, everyone. We're sorry if it's still not perfect, but neither one
Working
of
out
us
the
are.
kinks, much like the Blazers
Yes.
defense.
I is there a defense? I'm not sure. I mean, at least we have a show. Even though it has kinks, I don't know if there is such a thing as Blazer defense. I'm really yeah. It's rough.
Well, well, we might as well jump in. So obviously, a lot of new players, really young players, but I'm seeing a lot of the same stuff I saw with the last 2 years worth of players, where it was a much older, more veteran squad, especially certainly the starters, Nurt, Grant, Hart, Game Ant, and then before that, and to start the year, got a more veteran, and I'm still seeing some of the same things, the poor rotations or two players rotating out to one, leaving a 4-on-3 behind them. It's and it happens over and over again. Or players not set up in a good defensive stance. And I get it's an offensive league. You're not going to stop anybody for very long, especially some of the, like against the Suns. I mean, who are you going to stop on that team? Good luck. You're going to have to score with them, and they did for the first quarter. The first quarter, you're like, wow, okay, and then the second quarter, you realize how young they really are.
Yeah, but the
Tonight
Jazz
was
even. Ugh. It's
well, but
just
the Jazz are a good team. A more veteran team. They didn't run anybody out there that was close to the Blazers the median age until the middle of the third quarter.
yeah.
They finally got their rookie and the Hendricks in there in the fourth quarter, and I think we'd played four by then. For so it's just it's a big difference in experience. But they managed to stay fairly close. Made a little run at the end, made it a game. Um, Everyone's new favorite player, Tamani Kamara, seems to be at the right place at the right time
Mm-hmm.
all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
uh, there's things that they track that aren't in the box score. I mean, he filled up the box score, and I think they said he only had one steal. I'm almost positive he had at least two.
Yeah.
Um, but, blocks and assists, chase downs and rebounds, and or just keeping balls alive, hitting some threes, and he could have got a lot more shots. He had a couple in a row, and then they didn't go back to him when he was wide open, two of the next three times down the court. he could have got some good looks, but he is a really heady, under control player. He's a rookie, a 23-year-old rookie like Murray, but you would put him on the floor before Murray any day right now. The interesting part about him is my friend D69 is Mr. Scouting Guru, and we were just before the draft. We were looking at, okay, who are some just long shot guys that you might be able to pick up as free agents,
Mm-hmm.
undrafted free agents that you could bring on maybe the G League team or something like that. And there was three or four players, and I don't remember the names of the other three now. And I'd kind of forgotten Kamara until the Blazers picked him up. It's like, oh, hey, that was one of those guys that we had highlighted. An NBA body type, a little older guy, somebody that could come in and contribute. There was another guy that was a shooter that instead of editing his shooting video for NBA teams for the draft, his agent sent out the entire thing because he shot it so well they didn't edit it. It was an unedited raw feed. I think the Lakers maybe had him in or on his G League team two-way. I'm not sure what happened with him, but Kamara was a player that, much like a couple of years ago and I sent this to Danny Meringue in a tweet way back before the draft. I says, hey, what do you think about this guy, this Baji? And he's just like, okay, who? And then we had a good laugh when they signed him, to a two-way. Incredibly raw, hasn't seen the court, but Tamani will see the court. I can't imagine that he's not in front of Murray, and he might be in front of Jabari the time they open the season.
Maybe. Before we get too much into the players, though, I was just curious. What do you watch games on? Are you a Comcast guy? Are you a DirecTV guy? Fubo?
Fubo.
Okay, so what
I just out of principle I won't do
Comcast? I
Comcast.
hate Comcast. So what are your? I've watched. I've listened to a couple of different people talk about the price hike. I listened to Locked On where they talked about it a little bit. I listened to Jack Ramsey's last night where they talked about it, and Danny Meringue actually has quite a bit of background just because he worked for Comcast at the NBC at the time. But it's it's crazy to me. That Comcast is jacking it up like $35 or $37 per month for that package. That's insane. That is so much money.
It's the retail sports networks are failing, and I don't know if they're trying to prop them up or not lose money, but it's how they did it. I mean, yes, it adds a certain amount to the basic package that everyone gets. It adds, $6-7 is my understanding. So they put it on the ultimate, and because there's less channels on there and they're more specialized channels, it goes way up. Now you can call and complain, and that might come down a bit, but it's the timing of it. I mean, it's so, I don't know. I don't think Root Sports does a great job. I mean, there's no, it's Blazers, and if they're on, as like last year, you were fighting for time with the Kraken or the Mariners or whatever. They got bumped to, a backup route channel. It was hard to find them, kind of depended on where you were as to where you could find them. Um, and it just, right before the season, it's just sticking it to the fan. And I get that the Blazers don't have a lot of control over that. Um, I just the deal at the beginning I didn't think was great when they were doing it. And Danny went over, they tried to explore doing some other things, and sounds like the league wouldn't let them.
Mm-hmm.
But it really stinks for the fans. I mean, it's making it harder and harder to watch them. Seems like it's harder to find. It's more expensive, and some people, $36 a month extra.
It's a lot.
And I get,
It's a
okay, you
lot.
can you can do it for 6-7 months while the Blazers 8 months while the Blazers are on whatever, and then take it back off. But still, that's a good chunk of change because that's in addition. That's in addition to your already not small cable and internet bill.
Yeah, it's just frustrating to me because there's no there's no perfect scenario. Like if you want to watch the Ducks or Pac-12, YouTube doesn't get that. If you want to watch the NFL, I have YouTube TV for the NFL, so I pay for YouTube, which is really expensive now. And then also for NFL tickets, so I'm paying for that. I'm not gonna get Fubo, like I refuse to do that, because like I would just be buying it for the Blazers.
Right.
Um, you
It's
know,
it's pretty spendy for just the Blazers. It's not much. Every once in a while, I'll put something else on, but a lot of the times it's like I went to watch the baseball game last night, the Phillies, or the other night, Phillies and Braves, and it was in Spanish.
and that's on Max too. That's the other weird thing. I watched that on HBO's app. Like, it's it's just ridiculous how everything is
And
so spread out now. It's not just one or two
yeah, and it was
places.
in, and I mean, I'm working on my Espanol. I'll be down there a few times the next few months, but geez, they go too fast. I mean, I'm just learning, and so it's muy rapido.
Yeah. Well, I'll just say this. So, if you haven't listened to Jack Ramsey's, I would recommend it. Danny Meringue really goes into detail, kind of about what went down when they signed the deal with Root, and kind of what he has heard is the plan for the future of the Blazers in terms of broadcasting. But I will say this: like, yeah, he said that it was the best offer, like by far. It put the team in twice as many households as it used to be with Comcast, with NBC Sports Northwest. And he
Right.
said that NBC's offer was not even as good as it used to be. Like it was not going to be on YouTube anymore, which was a big selling point for me that I could get it on YouTube. Um,
I liked it
so
when it was on Hulu. That was probably the best.
yeah, but I'll just say this, like, okay, whatever, okay, and I don't want to really talk about this too much because I think it's kind of been done to death by a lot of the other, people that are really in the
And Danny did a
know.
good job. It took him about, I know, it's the first 15 minutes or so,
Yeah,
15, 20 minutes of his, and he covered it pretty well. And especially the what he thinks is happening, which I didn't know that, is it the Phoenix broadcast or the Utah
Utah
broadcast
and Phoenix actually, they're both.
is owned by the same people that own APTV 12 plus or
Oh yeah,
whatever
the
that's
Gray family. I
moving.
don't know who that is, but so I think it actually. I don't know. I don't think Utah is, but Phoenix is. But um, he said they're looking at Utah, they're looking at Phoenix and what they're doing, and essentially what they're doing is they're just broadcasting the games for free over the waves. So you'd have to go get um, antenna, which they're pretty cheap now. You can get a HD antenna for really relatively cheap. Um, and then also,
I just got two of them. Yes, they are very expensive.
yeah, and then the I don't know about Phoenix, but Utah is also offering, like, if you don't want to do the antenna, they have something called like Jazz Plus or something like that where you pay like $150 and you get two tickets to a game, you get a hat, you get a shirt, and then also they stream all the games. So if the Blazers do something like that, that would be
Which
amazing.
it's a tremendous deal. I mean, by the time you take out the game tickets, the hat, and the shirt, you're paying
Nothing.
maybe $100 for the season. That's a buck and a quarter a game. I mean, if you don't want to cough up a buck and a quarter of a game for your household, then it's probably not that important to you.
Yeah, but I'll just say this, because like I said, if you want to hear more about all the details about this stuff, go watch Jack Ramsey's or go watch Locked On Blazers. They both go into it in a lot better detail than I could. I never had much experience with television. That's not where I did my journalism, so I don't really have any perspective there. I will say this. I don't blame the Blazers for Comcast's shenanigans. I don't blame the Blazers for taking a deal that that, you know, put the team in a lot more households. What I do blame the team for is it is absolutely ridiculous that they did not have some type of stipulation in the contract that the games are presented in full HD. That is ridiculous. That is
That is
ridiculous.
that is a huge. It's 720. It's
That is inexcusable. There is no. I mean, maybe they never thought they would have to. You know what I mean? Like, who the hell streams in 720p anymore? But my God, like, you know, that is ridiculous. You know that
and
we're
you notice it because it doesn't. There's things it doesn't keep up with. You kind of get little buffers or glitches every
yeah.
periodically, and players like jump because it's just not as clear. You just you're going back. I mean, how many years was 720? We've at least been 1080 for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that's the only thing. I mean, I'll be excited. So I think Danny said there's like 18 months left on the contract. That's not that bad. You know, it means one more year of crap, and then hopefully the Blazers will have some type of solution in place where they can follow the model of Utah and Phoenix and learn from what worked, what didn't work with those two markets. But it just sucks
Oh,
for now.
maybe they'll it'll be available for fans about the time that the Blazers are potentially starting to
Good.
get better.
Yeah. So, okay. So we got that out of the way. I don't want to talk a lot about that. You know, it sucks. Everybody's talking about it. I want to move on, talk about the team. Um, I don't really care about the Breakers game. You know,
No.
they're not an NBA team. We ended up killing them by like 40 points or something at the end. I don't really care. Um, we have the Phoenix game. We have the Jazz game. Uh, just to kind of start, I want to get your thoughts on Scoot because Scoot had a rough night tonight. It was not. He hasn't really had a great night yet. Out of the first two games, he's not putting up bad numbers. He had like
Well,
17 and 8 tonight, but he shot terribly.
well, he shot terribly in parts. If you break down, and I watched this because I started watching it in the Phoenix game. I'm seeing the same thing here, and maybe even a little bit from the Breakers. I didn't watch, but um, Scoot, when he's playing off ball and gets a catch and shoot, that shot is pretty good. I don't know what he's shooting, but just the eyeball test tells me he's shooting pretty well when he's getting a spot up catch and shoot three.
Mm-hmm.
It's when he's dribbling and it's a pull up three. It's not close. It's very short.
Well, all of his shots were short tonight, though. I mean, the ones that
It's
he didn't
ridiculous. No,
make.
no, his spot up, the threes he made were spot up there. I think maybe two. I'm not sure how many he made. Yeah, he's 2 for 7. Both of the twos he made, both of the threes he made were spot ups. The ones he missed, I think maybe he missed one spot up, and the rest of them were pull up threes off the dribble. That shot is not there yet,
Yeah.
and it's a different shot than his spot up shot. To me, it just looks a little different.
Mm-hmm.
So he's gonna have to develop into that. I mean, I like his assist numbers, and that's where I thought that he would do well. I think he's going to have the opportunity. He had 8 tonight. I don't know what he had against Phoenix because he had a bunch of turnovers. I think he had 6 turnovers. I don't know how many assists he had, but he he's finding guys. He's got a natural vision with the ball, but it's just he's playing against guys that are bigger and stronger than he is now, and he's yet. I mean, occasionally he'll show that burst and he'll get to the basket, but he's not blowing by guys like we had heard that he could. His handle's not. That needs some work, to create either some separation or get guys going one way while he goes another.
He
But
did.
it takes a. I mean, he's 19.
He did
And
in
the
the second half against Phoenix when they brought in their bench scrubs. Then all of a sudden he looked like Superman. And so
Yeah, he did look better, but against mostly in the first halves of tonight and Phoenix. That's what I'm looking at.
Hmm.
That's who he's going to have to play against is those type of players. There, lots of work to be done, but there's going to be. He's young. He's 19, and it's not going to come. What I'm looking at with things like that is that's about as expected. I didn't expect that he would shoot well. Actually, he shot better off the spot up than I thought he would, so that's good to see. What I'm looking at with some other players is did Shaedon's handle get any better, this year from to last year? Because that was a struggle. He had trouble creating in space. If he can get a blow by, fine, but he's got to work his way around somebody or get somebody, you know, off balance and then attack. That wasn't there last year, and I don't see that it's much better this year, and that's a real small sample size. Um, so we'll see how that works, and I'm glad now it looks like they're going to bring him off the bench. I do not like him as a starter with if they have if it's DeAndre Grant and Scoot, he's going to be option five. He's not going to see the ball, and he didn't against Phoenix. He got his points late, and he got maybe one or two shots in the first half. Then he got his points, when he was in with some of the subs and scrubs in the second half. So I like him more off the bench where he can be he can go get his shot and get more opportunities because he's not going to get them if he's in the starting lineup. He's going to be the fifth option and a distant five. He's not going to see the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's still preseason. I thought Scoot had a really good shot at maybe stealing Rookie of the Year this year. I'm not so sure now because number one, Wemby looks insane. Which I mean, there's still question whether or not he'll play enough games. I mean, we're talking about a guy that they have to be careful with. But Chet also looks really good, so I don't. And the funny thing is that, and I think it was Meringue, or I can't remember who was talking about it, but there's only been like 5 19-year-olds that have averaged like 15 points and 5 assists in their first season. So if Scoot puts up 15 and 5, that's still crazy good, for a 19-year-old rookie.
I think he'll get the assists. I don't know if he'll get the points. In fact, I think he'll get 6, 7 assists. I don't know if he'll get the points. If he does, it's probably not going to be very efficient.
Like tonight.
At least to start. It'll look like tonight. What did he shoot? 40. Oh no,
No,
6 for 17.
it was bad. It was really, really bad.
17. So that's a lot of. He took more shots than anyone else on the floor.
Yeah.
And that's been a history with his team, the guards doing that, whether they're making them or not.
He jacked up a couple at the end when they were trying. I mean, they were down by like 4 with like 30 seconds left. I think he tried to jack a couple quick threes, which just isn't. That's not in his game right now. So I mean, he was at like 6 of 15, which was still not great, but not like 6 of 7. 6 of 17 is really bad. So, what's hard right now to judge things is that the team has just looked so discombobulated because there's so many new faces. Simons looked really good tonight.
Simons and Grant both looked. I mean, Simons had 29 points on 15 shots.
12 of 15.
I mean,
12 of 15.
Insanely efficient.
And Grant had 24 points on 9 of 12 shots. I mean,
so both of those guys.
But
and they're going to be relied on that, and teams are going to key on that. I mean, that's 55 points on 27 shots. It's really, really good.
But it's hollow though, I mean, it's hollow because they're not playing defense. Like they're putting up a lot of points, but like whoop-de-doo,
And how long have we been doing this? Grant will play some defense, but how long have we had smallest shooting guards jacking up shots, scoring a lot of points that don't play defense? And it's the same thing, and it's another 6'3" guard, doesn't play defense, tremendous offensively. I mean, I think he's going to step into that game type role where he's going to be the focus of other teams' defense, and he's still going to be able to score, and he's going to put up numbers, and that's great. But how many is he going to give up on a night, or somebody else is going to give him up because he got blown by?
Well, you know what's funny? Their guards really didn't do much. It was Markkanen. I mean, Markkanen looks so good. I really don't know what Chicago and Cleveland were doing with him. I really haven't watched much of those two teams, so I don't know.
He was hurt a little bit to start. I don't know that he played. I thought he was banged up a little bit early on in his career. Yeah, he looks like, I mean, that looks like another Danny Ainge special out
Yeah,
of what he got there. And yeah, no, the Utah guards didn't necessarily go off, but what they did do is
Sexton did
get blow-bys, and then people had to rotate, and then it created shots for other people, or
corner
it was a
threes.
rotate, the swing, and it was the hockey assist, and someone was wide open. He just doesn't do a good job of staying in front of his man. He never has. His defensive metrics are abysmally low. And Scoot's not going to be any better, at least for a while, regardless of how much he tries or he's stronger. But he doesn't have the experience. Shaedon, very poor defensive metrics in or fundamentals, and a lot of the things I saw, he wasn't, his angles weren't great. He wasn't. They even talked about his stance. I think Francis Williams talked about his stance not being great in the halftime show,
Well, looks
which I
lazy.
thought was
He's
spot on. Yeah, he just, well, and again, he's young, but I'm not seeing that, where that accountability that we wanted for years and years under Stott. I don't see any more of it here.
no.
It's guys that are kind of, they watch Dame, they watch CJ to a point, certainly Ant, Shaedon watch Dame, and it's like, well, I just go get my shot. Go get my points, and I'm not going to worry about the role. Well, okay, but you're going to. I mean, it wasn't the offense tonight. What they scored tonight, 133.
133, yeah.
It's a great night.
Yeah.
But when you give up almost 140, it's not such a great night. And yeah, you're missing. You didn't have Aiton, and still don't have Robert Williams. Yeah. Now I get they're holding out Robert Williams to just be careful with him, but at some point you want to see him on the court to get, because if he doesn't get in play in the next one, he's going to go in the regular season with just no court time, and not. I mean, he's a veteran. That's going to be fine. They still have another mini camp to go, but I'd like to see him out there because he's been, seems like he's been injury prone most of his career, and to come in and was 100% healthy, and then bang knees and he's out, and like, well, okay.
Well, he might be
I mean,
more hurt.
he
I mean, he might
he
be
is more.
more hurt than we thought. They said it was kind of a nasty collision. They're not really giving us much more than that. They didn't say if he had an MRI or an X-ray or anything like that. So we don't know. I'm not really sure why Aiton sat tonight. Preseason is a little bit confusing to me because I'm looking at the Bucks and I'm like, okay, you guys just added Dame. Wouldn't you want to try to trot Dame and Middleton and and Giannis out there just so they get a little bit of time together on the court? They're not even trying.
Yeah.
And here's Aiton's didn't travel, didn't he's sitting out. I don't know if that's a health thing or they just didn't want to
I
didn't want
thought
to
he was
deal
on
with
the
it. Was he there? I mean, he didn't play.
I thought he was
So
on the end of the bench. Feet closed. Williams, I don't think traveled.
Brogdon didn't play, Aiton didn't play. Williams, obviously didn't play. So yeah, I don't know. I think they probably just look at the whole season as the preseason. This whole season is just about analyzing and assessing and chemistry and teaching. But I just I don't see a place for Grant here. I really hope they trade him before the deadline. He's a good scorer. He's an okay defender. He doesn't rebound at all. You know,
Terrible.
I
for.
just don't. I don't see the point. I would rather play. Honestly, I'd rather play Kamara or Jabari at this point than him. Um, Simons, I get it. Okay, people are like, well, Simons is still only 23 or 24. He's an insanely good scorer. I think Brogdon will be gone. I'm still kind of wondering if maybe the reason why Brogdon didn't play is supposedly the Clippers are still interested in him. So he showed he could play against Phoenix. He had that just blazing hot first quarter.
In a ridiculous quarter, and then it was almost like just in case anyone forgot,
I'm still
here
really
we
good.
go, and he just kind of coached. It's like, oh yeah, we remember that guy.
That
And there's
guy's
only been how many? They were saying it 13 50, 40, 90 guys
yeah,
in NBA history.
yeah. It's pretty
I mean,
rare.
he's in some fairly exclusive company, and is he not the love child of Andre Miller? He
Yeah,
runs like him. He shoots like him. He's built kind of thick like him. Not really athletic. Now he shoots much better from the outside than Dre did, but he's a good passer. He's very, very cerebral. His game just looks like him. You don't have to squint very hard. It's like, well, look, Dre's back.
the funny thing is, like, I would actually like if he was amenable to it, I would keep him and move Simons because to me, Simons is a combo guard. He's too small to be a shooting guard, and he's built just like Dame, but he's not the passer that Dame was. So, if
Well,
you
I think Dame's even a little stronger and thicker than Ant is.
oh yeah, no, Dame's built kind of like a
So,
tank. So
Ant gets pushed and bumped off the ball pretty easily. Um, and that's when you see him kind of fighting around screen. I mean, he'll disappear, or if he's guarding somebody one on one, he gets pushed off his spot really easily. It's not. I see him trying. It's not necessarily a lack of effort where maybe sometimes Shaedon will get a little, I don't know, distracted, lost. Yeah, go out and watch Pee Wee kids playing baseball. They're out there, picking dandelions, a kid in right field, and he's like looking at his glove, and looking up in the air, and there's times that Shaedon gets a little bit lost, or just lack of focus, and then he's back in, and he's so athletic, he can make up for it a little bit. But I see Ant trying. I don't think it's not for a lack of effort. It's just it's ability. I mean, he can try all he wants. I'm not sure how, just with his slight frame, and he's just never really done it. Now in year 5 to like all of a sudden become a better defender, maybe. But
yeah, I don't
I
see
agree
it.
with you. Now I don't think Brogdon would be amenable to it, at least for very long. I mean, he'll be a good soldier and stuff, but I can't imagine he's here for
No,
very long. Certainly, I mean, he may be gone before the start of the season, but certainly by the deadline, I can't
yeah,
imagine. I mean, there's going to be teams that want him, and he's really just, he can come in and give some pointers to some guys and how to be a professional and stuff, but really he's taking up minutes that you want these young kids to be on the court as much as possible and develop. I mean, them sitting behind Brogdon is, for an example, is nice, but they need to be on the court. Shaedon already missed a year or two in a row, because he didn't play at Kentucky. He needs time. Scoot needs time. Um, and Ant's going to get his minutes. So if Brogdon's there, you're shrinking that pretty small, and and I don't like Shaedon on the court with Ant and Scoot because he's not going to get any shots, and he's playing small forward, and there's a whole lot not to really be thrilled about with that. So
yeah. No, I
I
think
think that'll take care of itself, and we talked about that a little bit. It's how soon will that be?
Sharp looked a lot better tonight. I mean, when you didn't
Yeah.
have Brogdon in the lineup, and he really kind of picked it up in the second half. So like when Simons kind of sat down, Sharp
Yeah,
Sharp went.
he had a stretch of 3 or 4 possessions in a row where he just not making shots. He got on a little bit of a roll, and I was like, okay, how long are they going to feed this? It'll be interesting to see how long they go with it.
because he finished with 20 points on 8 of 15 shooting. Like that's
Yeah,
good. And here's the thing that I really like about Shaedon. This is I think one of the most underrated parts about Shaedon. He rebounds. 7
yeah.
rebounds plus 4 assists and 2 steals. Not I
Let's
mean
start
that's
this.
by far his best game so far.
Yeah,
Out of all 3 of the last, 3 games, like definitely by far his best game. Um, Jabari had a good game, although I was a little bit annoyed with him when he took the ball coast to coast and just forced a shot. And I'm like, dude, that is not your game. That is not your game, Jabari. You are a role player. Pass the ball. Like, you know.
no, there that happened several times tonight where someone else had wide open shots or dunks. They missed Shaedon multiple times tonight
Yeah.
on what could have been, those ridiculous back scratcher dunks. They missed Amara after he'd hit a couple threes. He was wide open again. They did that. So it's yeah, some of that stuff gets figured out, but you either have that instinct or you don't. I mean, Scoot has that. He'll find people. There's guys that'll Kamara seems to have that. Man, he's always in the right place, always making the right. Not that he's a guard, but he's making the right pass or he's making the right play, just naturally. There's no force to it. And I know exactly the one you're talking about with Jabari. It's like you I mean, okay, I get being aggressive, but that was a pretty easy 2 points that got given up
Yeah.
because you didn't make the right pass, the right play to a wide open teammate.
CJ used to do that, and it was the thing that would drive me the most nuts about him
Oh,
is when he would it would be like a 3-on-1 or 4-on-2 or something, and he would just force it, and you're just like, dude, pass the ball. Like you're a smart player. So, um, yeah, it's frustrating. I I'm gonna make kind of an extremely early hot take. I don't see it with Chris Murray. I don't see it. He's slow.
I don't either.
He's slow, and I just don't
That
see
that
anything that he's good at.
that shot takes you can time that release with a sundial. And the other thing about it that just seems he seems almost too squared up to the basket. Usually when you shoot, you're coming forward and your strong side hand is and that hip is leading a little bit. He seems dead squared up so that it almost causes his left-handed to come across. He's not turned, so it's coming straight. He's this way, so as it comes forward, it's like this. It's coming across his body, and it's slow. It looks weird, and it reminds me. There's somebody else that used to shoot like that. Now I don't know if it's Ben Simmons that kind of shoots like that a little bit with that, just a little bit really squared up with the knees. Just I'm not sure that it's Simmons or not, but his shot reminds me of somebody, and it's not. I I'm not a huge fan at all,
Mm-mm.
and I completely agree with you. He's not real athletic, and I'm not seeing him do the things that he did. He was an old senior last year for Iowa, wherever he played. Um, and he's bigger, more experienced, and stronger and stuff, but he looks miles behind Kamara or Jabari, and he's older than Jabari. He might be the same age as Kamara. He looks light years behind them.
I just think you see it a lot more in football. There's guys that just dominate in the college level because they're just so good. Like they're athletically they're just better than everyone else. But when they get to the pros, everyone is an insane athlete, and so they don't stand out anymore, and they just kind of fade away. Um, I think a really good example of that was LaMichael James. LaMichael James was so good in college, and when he got to the NFL, he just kind of was like, "You're a fast guy, but everyone's fast. Like everybody is really fast and athletic at this level," and he just didn't
Well,
didn't
and he
didn't do
played in
anything.
that system with Chip early on too. That I think that helped build some stats. Chris reminds me a bit of Adam Morrison when he came out
Mm,
of Gonzaga.
yeah.
A very accomplished,
Luke.
or smart, heady, and got to the NBA, and it just like all of a sudden he wasn't quite athletic enough. He didn't shoot it, quite as well. The space he'd created in college, he was no longer creating, so he had to change his shot, a little more arc, had to rush it a little more, and he went from being a, college player of the year to couldn't get off the bench.
I thought Luke Jackson. I look at Chris Murray, and Luke Jackson is the guy that just screams at me because he was not that athletic. He was an okay shooter. I just don't. I don't know why we used a first round pick on this dude. Like I just don't see it.
I didn't like it at the time, and I don't know if we did a show or I was talking to somebody else about that. There was a kid that, and I forget his name. He was a center. He got drafted by
Leonard Miller.
Char- Charlotte, maybe. No, I liked Miller, but there was another guy. It was a bigger guy, a center.
Hmm.
Ridiculous wingspan, real raw guy, and he had a buyout. I believe if he was drafted in the first round, his buyout was null and void. If he got drafted in the second round, somebody had to buy him out. And I don't remember where. I think it's Charlotte. I thought Charlotte ended up drafting him somewhere. And that's when he was still available with that second pick. That's who I wanted. And they got Murray. I'm like, okay, great. But his brother's good, and he's a twin. But when he was on the floor with his brother was scoring 25 points a game, and he was scoring 7. I mean, there was a vast difference in their abilities. And Chris talked about in an interview he wanted to come back and be his own guy, and he was. He put up good numbers, but when you look at him, they weren't quite the same. Not quite the points, not nearly the efficiency, not across the board. Even though he was very good, it wasn't the same as Keegan was, and you can see that he's nowhere near ready to contribute at the level Keegan did for Sacramento last year. In fact,
No,
he
and
was great.
I see Kamara and Walker as being in the rotation way ahead of him. Obviously, he's ahead
Way
of
ahead.
Rupert because Rupert is just so raw. But Kamara, I would definitely play ahead of Murray because he's a better
All right,
defender. He's faster.
I can see Kamara being the number 9 guy.
Well,
He won't be in that top 8 because I think your 3 guys off the bench are going to be Brogdon, Shaedon, and Williams. But I can see him being that ninth guy. And yes, Jabari has an uncanny knack for positioning and rebounds and being in the right spot, kind of like Kamara does. Just Kamara's a little longer and maybe a little more athletic and better shooter.
but
I mean, there was
they don't have a small forward right now. Like Thibault is like, he had actually a pretty decent first couple of games from the perimeter. Tonight he was terrible. 0 4,
he was yeah,
1 of 5
was,
total.
and they
Like
weren't and they weren't close.
he had 3 steals, 2 assists, 3 rebounds. That's great. He had a block. Like he's kind of everywhere. But if he can't hit those wide open threes, you can't play him. Like he can't. He has to be a threat. And if he can't hit a spot up 3, when Grant's doubled or Simons is doubled or Aiton is doubled, when Scoot drives and kicks it out, he's got to hit those shots, and he
Well,
has
I
been.
think, I mean, he did last year. I mean, tonight was a bad night. They're playing without either center, and even Moses Brown only played. I don't know. I bet he played less than 20 minutes,
12
15 maybe.
minutes,
He wasn't in.
12.
So it was a lot of Bob, Bob Reith and then Jabari maybe at center. I mean, they went really small for, which is why I mean I think the Jazz shot 40 plus free throws because they were just small and they were reaching and they were reacting and they were
42.
just so outsized. It was insane. So you get their starting lineup out there, and I think he'll be fine. And he shot really well. Now last year I think he overachieved. I don't think he's shooting 40% again. If you can get him at 36, 37 with the defense he provides, you'll be fine. But yeah, he's still a little undersized. we still don't have a small forward, and maybe next year that's something we go get. But you've got because Kamara is not really a small forward; he's more of a power forward. Now he's all over the place. He's not really a small forward. Barry's not a small forward. Shaedon's not really a small forward. I mean, they don't really have one. They
I
haven't for a long time.
we're gonna be so bad that I think we're gonna have a shot at like Ron Holland or a couple of these other small forwards that are in the draft. Because we're gonna be bad. We're gonna be really
We're
bad.
well, and that's what this year you just have to accept that's we're not going to win a lot of games. You're looking for little wins. Hey, for this quarter we did well, or this player showed signs of the like Kamara did tonight, or like Shaedon did for a stretch, or Ant did in the first half, or whatever. It's going to be finding those things that okay, hey, if they can do that and do that on a little more of a consistent basis, down the road this will start to look better. And really, and where are the steps on the defensive end? That's really where it's going to come down to. Because I think this team can score. I don't know how efficient it'll be, but I think they can score. I mean, they put up 40 points against the Suns starters. Now, not that the Suns were super engaged or anything, but it was against their starting lineup. They put up 40 points. Like,
Yeah,
wow, that's that's a win for the night. There's a win. The second quarter, I think they put up 15. Okay, there's going to be nights like that. Mama said.
I
But
was.
that was a win. You put up 40 points against their starters. Tonight you put up 133. There's things you're going to have to find in the silver lining because there's not going to be a lot of wins, and there's going to be nights where we're talking about not a lot of game recap and how did Ron Holland or whoever, I mean, pick anyone in the top five, how did that player do? Um, there's a 6'11" small forward that's coming up the ranks, and then there's another guy Jim found out of Florida State, in the line of Patrick Williams, Scotty Barnes, John Butler, one of these real tall small forward type guys um, that he thinks will climb up by the end of the year again. It won't be what the following year's draft will be, but there will be some players by the end of the year that are going to help Portland out.
Yeah.
It's how much do they develop this year, and it's not going to be in big chunks, I don't believe.
So just to kind of close things out, I was curious what you thought about Nurk and Aiton and that whole thing that went down, with that Phoenix game. Because Nurk played really well, but here's the thing: like I've seen all these Suns fans doing victory laps, and it's just like, guys, this is preseason. Like Nurk can do that. He can have these games where he just looks brilliant. His
Oh,
problem
absolutely.
his problem has always been that he's inconsistent and he can't stay healthy. Those are his two big knocks. Not that he's not capable of doing that. And
Well,
Aiton is also inconsistent. This kind of they have similar issues. I don't think Aiton has the injury issues that Nurk has, but they both have consistency issues.
I think that this is one of those rare trades where both teams won and both teams got what will help them. The Suns didn't need Aiton to be what he thinks he can be. And part of the issue is they said, hey, sacrifice your game, play defense, rebound, and we will reward you, which they did not. So there was some bad blood there. I get it. But they don't need him to be more than, I mean, he's going to be fourth. He was going to be the fourth option at best on that team. Durant is one, and Booker is 1A, and Beal is 2. Aiton is Aiton is fourth. At best, Aiton is fourth. They don't need him. What they do need is someone that can kind of block up the middle, isn't going to demand a lot of shots, and can move the ball and make a secondary pass. Nurk's very good at that. Now Portland doesn't need that as much. They need somebody that can score and be a be a pillar in the middle because everyone else is so young. It's like, hey, we need you to do a bunch of these things. Well, I think Aiton will be able to do that. So,
Mm.
Suns. I'm glad for Suns fans. I mean, Nurk fits exactly what they need for where they're at right now. They don't need an Aiton. They do need what Nurk can do. And I think as long as he's engaged, which he should be, he's in a very winning situation. It's going to be tough for him to grouse about not being more involved or getting more shots when they start the season 50 and 10 or whatever. Well, that would look kind of silly. So I think you're going to get an engaged Nurk. I think he's going to be perfect for what they need. And I think Aiton will be good for what Portland needs. Now, how long that goes when Portland's not winning games, that might get a little tough. Where Nurk will be winning games, so it's going to be easier for him to stay engaged and not complain or grouse or anything else. So I think it was good for both teams. Portland they got a wing defender in Little who's not going to demand shots. He's just going to go out there and play defense and hustle. Great for them. The Blazers got Kamara, who's a young guy who wouldn't have played in Phoenix, but maybe a rotation guy here just because it's not about winning here. You're on two different timelines, and that's fine. I think it works out well for both teams for now.
Well, my concern though is you were saying he was the fourth option in Phoenix, and he only got 6 shots in that game against Phoenix the other night. And so the issue I see is I look at like tonight, you got Simons taking 15, you got Grant taking 12. Simons played 24 minutes, Grant played 26. Scoot took 17, but I don't think Scoot's going to take 17. That's not.
There's where a bunch of the shots have to come to. Scoot, unless he's just really, really on a roll, Scoot needs to be at 12 and get guys involved.
But I still think Danny Morang was saying he thinks that the foundation of the Blazers offense is going to be Simons and Ayton pick and roll. But Grant, I just don't know. Grant is. It'll be interesting to see. I think it's nice to talk like it's going to be Ant and Ayton. I guess if they just feed him the ball. But Simons is not a great passer. Grant is a black hole. I think Scoot's going to be the only one that's actually looking for him. So
They will. Well, Ant's going to have to learn to pass, and he's going to have to learn to pass it to Ayton off of a screen because a lot of the times, I think teams are going to trap Ant coming around the corner because he has the ability to score, and he's going to have to figure out either to get it back to Ayton and I don't know how much pick and roll it's going to be. Ayton seems like he's more of a pick and pop guy. He does roll some, or he's a lob threat. But Ant's going to have to learn. I mean, in a real hurry to make use of Ayton on that pick and roll, and then Grant in the corner or Scoot on a spot up on the other side, and then whoever Tease in the other corner. I mean, he's going to have to, and I think the reason they do that is teams are going to game plan for those two. So you want Ant coming off a pick where it creates some defensive rotation or maybe a little confusion, a little mismatch. Maybe he gets a big, um, and throw things into a little bit of a defensive chaos right away. Because if it's Scoot with the ball, Scoot's trying to create. I think he's a little too young to just give it to him and say, "Here, go create that." I don't think he's got that just experience yet, and he doesn't have the shot to make teams pay. So they're just going to play off of him, and they're going to go under the screen, and all of a sudden that screen isn't worth much. So not only is Scoot isn't well served by the pick and roll, Ayton's not well served by it either because they're going to sag off of that, and Ayton's going to have no ability to get downhill going to the rim. So I think for now it's best with Ant and Aiton. Get Aiton his shots, get him his get him his feels and his flowers, and make him feel involved. Ant's gonna get his buckets. I think it's the best way to get everybody, get the defense focused on the player who's got the most ability to react to what they're doing. And that's going to give Scoot some either some rotation opportunities, or he's going to be able to attack downhill off of a closeout because of some action on whatever strong side that they're on. So that's probably, I think, the right decision. I don't think it's going to affect wins, but I think it takes some of the pressure off Scoot to have to be the guy right away.
Yeah. All right, Larry. Well, we're just close to an hour. We'll call it for tonight. I will just say I don't care about wins at all this season. I just want to see.
That's a good thing.
I just want to see our guys improve. I want to see Chauncey improve. I want to see uh, all of our. I just want to see improvement. That's all I care about. Scoot, Shaedon, Jabari, all these guys. I just want to see the growth. That's the most important thing to me. Be competitive. I don't think we're gonna have to tank because I think we're gonna stink anyway. And
No, we're not going to have to tank. And if come trade deadline, Grant or Brogdon is gone, we won't have to work at it. We're going to be doing it naturally.
yeah. So, well, thanks again, Larry, for joining. Thank you, everyone else, for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, all those good things. We're also on Spotify if you want to just listen instead of watch on YouTube. But we appreciate everyone tuning in. We'll do another show maybe after the Phoenix game on Monday, just to kind of close out the preseason. And then when is the first game? It is.
It's a bit of a break.
Yeah, there is. So we
Go
have
back to
the
part two of
25th.
minicamp.
The 25th.
Yeah.
So we've got a nice little break between Monday and
Is that
then
do they open on the road?
yeah.
Is
Actually,
it
most of
Clipper?
their yeah. So they're 4 out of their first 5 games are on the road. They play the Clippers in LA, then they play the Magic at home. Then they go out on a pretty. They're going to Philly, Toronto, and Detroit, and then back to back Memphis. That's weird. And then on the road again, and those are both at home. Back to back Memphis at home. That is bizarre.
If anyone is worried about wins, that first 10 games will take care of that right quick and in a hurry. There's not going to be many wins.
Oh no, they might beat Detroit, but
And people just have to be okay with that. No, all right, this is a rebuild year. X player had a nice game and made some strides, and that's where you're gonna have to come out of it with that.
I think people deep down in a place they don't want to talk about were thinking, oh, we've got Ant, we've got Grant, we've got Aiton, we've got Thibault, we got, we're going to be okay. We're going to be decent. We might sneak into the play-in. No, we're not. We're not going to be that good. We're going to be very bad.
Well, they're counting on too many young guys, and their defense is just not. They're not going to win games. I mean, they want. I don't care how much you get out of them. Maybe that starting group that's fairly veteran outside of Scoot, but it's the defense is just it's not there, and that's one of the big things to watch for this year. Is even if they're losing, are players at least in the right spots doing the right things more and more often? Because that's Chauncey gets a bit of a pass the first couple years, although some of it I don't know how much of it. I mean, yes, they tanked at the end of the last two, but they weren't tanking when they started out. Like they started out 10-3 last year, and then it went downhill from there, and they reverted back to some of the bad things that they've been doing for years. So he's got a chance with a whole bunch of new players to really put his imprint on this, but will there actually be that imprint? I mean, love him or hate him, Tom Thibodeau comes in, you notice a change defensively. Now he may rub players raw after a short amount of time, but you see things change when Thibodeau gets in. And Frank Vogel's another one. Vogel comes in and defensively, things get better.
We just look like the same team. I mean, it's funny because all the things I hated about Stotts, it's the same. I mean, we play a lot of ISO offense, and we play really bad defense where we give up a ton of wide open corner threes. I mean, that's the exact same things that I hated about Terry Stotts. Still here. Still here. So,
It has not changed much, no.
yeah.
But um, well, just keep looking for those silver linings because there will be some, and it's something that it's going to take a little bit, but organically, I think this thing is going to grow, and in a couple of years, 2, 3 years, I mean, you might start to see signs like, hey, this is okay. We had to suffer through, but there's some hope here. As team, the Lakers will be old, the Clippers will be old, the Suns, Durant will be, nearing 40. Um, there's going to be some teams that are aging out. The Warriors, Memphis will still be young. Utah will be young. Spurs will be young and maybe getting better like us at the same. I mean, that's another team that should be in a couple of years, should be getting better. Uh, and we're just gonna have to accept that and hope that Schmitz knocks it out of the park in the draft.
Yep. All right, sir. Well, thank you again for joining. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And we'll be back probably after Monday just to kind of close out the preseason, share our thoughts, and then, there'll be a nice break. I will not be surprised if I will not be surprised if Brogdon is gone before the first game of the season. Just have a feeling.
It wouldn't be shocking.
Would not be shocking. I guess we'll stay tuned.
Depends on the type of offer they get. If they don't, they'll hold on to him and wait for something better at the trade deadline.
Yep. All right, everybody. Thanks again for joining. We'll talk to you all soon. Have a good night.
Good night.